Jai Sitaram. Ayodhya Ch, chapter 20. In the previous section, we saw that Lord Rama enters his mother's palace. His mother is exceptionally happy to see Rama, and she blesses him with long life, everlasting fame, and the ability to follow Dharma at all times. And she also says that his father is proverbial for his wonderful adherence to truth. And based on that, Rama is to be crowned the king of Ayodhya. She gives Rama a seat to take up, and she also asks him to dine with her. Rama respectfully declines the seat, and he is setting his mind to tell his beloved mother that he has to go off to the forest. So he humbly salutes her, and his mind is all set. Verse 27. Devi, nunam na janishe mahad bhayam upastitam idam tava cha dukkhaya vaidehya lakshmanasya cha. Mother, a great fear has befallen us that will cause no small grief and anxiety to you, to Sita, and to Lakshmana. Verse 28. Gamashye dandakaranyam kim anena asanena me vistara asana yogyo hi kalo ayam mam upastitaha. I have to go to Dandaka forest. Why is this seat for me? The time has come for me to sit on the seat made out of kusha grass. Verse 29. Chaturdasha hi varshani vatsyami vijane vane madhumula phale jivan hitva munivad amisham. I have resolved to dwell in the uninhabited wilds, feeding upon honey, roots, and fruits, even as the hermits, and abstaining from the flesh of animals. So, this is very important for us to know. It doesn't mean that Rama used to eat meat when he was in the palace. Rama is saying this because in the forest it is generally easy to eat the meat of animals. But Rama is saying that just as how a sage lives, he is going to live in the forest without eating meat, amisham, and he's saying that he is going to have madhu, which is honey, mula, that means roots, and phala, that means fruits. So that's it. Madhu, phal, mul. That's all he's going to have for 14 years. Of course, Rama also has water from the various rivers, but as far as eating is concerned, he is going to eat only honey, fruits, and roots for 14 years. And here he says that he is not going to have any meat. So, in couple of places in Ayodhya Kand, it might seem as if he's eating meat, but we have got to know that Rama has sworn off of meat. So when we see those terms over there, it has a different meaning, and we will get to it when we see those terms. But this is a very clear indication that Rama himself says that he is going to eat only fruits, roots, and honey. Verse 30. Bharataya Maharajo Yovarajam Prayachati Mam Punardandakaranyam Vivasayati Tapasam. The great king would have Bharata be crowned the next king of Ayodhya, and he is asking me to reside in the forest of Dandaka as a recluse. Verse 31. Sa shata chashta cha varshani vatsyami vijane vane asevamano vanyani phala mulaischa vartayan. Living on things available in the forest, on fruits and roots, I am to dwell in the uninhabited jungle for 6 and 8 years. Verse 32. Sa nikritaiva salasya yashtihi parushuna vane papata sahasa devi devateva divishchuta. These words fell like a thunderbolt on Kaushalya, and she fainted away from excess of grief, even as a huge sala tree in the forest cut down by the axes of woodsmen, or even as a shining one hurled down to the earth from the mansions of light. Verse 33. Tam adukha uchitam drishtva patitam kadalim iva Rāma tu uthapayam asa mataram gata chetasam. Rama sprang towards her and raised her gently in his arms, she who had fallen unconsciously on the floor like a plantain tree. Verse 34. Upavritya uttitham deenam vadavam iva vahitam Pamsha Guntita Sarva Agnim Vimamarsha Cha Panina. Lord Rama chafed her wasted limbs as she lay like an uprooted plantain tree, or like a mare who rolls in the dust to shake off the fatigue that comes of being overburned. Oh, the greatness of Mother Kaushalya, that Rama, the Supreme Lord Himself, would hold her and lift her up and gently rub her so that she feels much better. Verse 35. Sa raghavam upasinam asukha artha sukha uchita uvacha purusha vyaghram upashrunvati lakshmane. Soon she regained consciousness, a stranger to such calamities, fitted in every way to enjoy the utmost joy and happiness that life can give, and brought up in the very lap of wealth, luxury, and power, she bitterly complained of her fate, whilst Lakshmana was listening. So now we are going to see the comparison of the Vatsalya Bhava between Mother Kaushalya and Dasharatha. As soon as Dasharatha got to know that Rama had to go off into the forest, what was the first thing he said? This comes in the 12th chapter of Ayodhya Ch. The first thing he said was, what mistake has Rama ever done to you? You yourself have said that Rama has treated you better than Bharata has treated you, so why have you inflicted such a great punishment upon him? So to King Dasharatha, Rama was always the principal focus. In Kaushalya's terms, there is a slight difference between her Vatsalya Bhava towards Lord Rama and King Dasharatha's Vatsalya Bhava towards Lord Rama. Verse 36. Yadi putra na jayatha mama shokaya raghava nasma dukkham ataha bhuyah pashyayam aham apraja. Oh, my dear son, I am sure that all this grief would not have befallen me were he not born to me as my son. Verse 37. Ekeva hi vandhyayah shoko bhavati manavah apraja asmi iti santapo nahi anyah putra vidyate. A barren woman has no other sorrow than that of childlessness. Verse 38. Na drishta purvam kalyanam sukham va pati paurushe api putre vipashyeyam iti Rama astitam maya. I sink under the heavy load of manifold misfortunes. I have a son, but I have him not. I spent over him years of care and solicitude, but I lived to see the work of my hands undone before my eyes. I counted upon your devoted service to me in my last days. I had hoped that your hands will close mine eyes before they take leave of the light of the sun, but I live to see you violently torn away from me in my helpless old age. Verse 39. Sa bahuni amanojnani vakyani hridaya chiddam aham shroshye sa patninam avaranam varasati. To the world, I am the queen consort of Dashratha of Ayodhya, the lord of the earth, but devoid of the wealth and the power and the pomp that make it a reality. My husband's heart is turned away from me. Your birth gave me a new lease of life and instilled fresh hope in my heart that I might get back a husband's love and queenly power through his supreme affection to you. And that has been the mainspring of my life. Alas, grief more intense, greater than I have experienced till now, is my portion till death. Denied of the joy and comfort that is mine by right, I have to endure the cruel words and wanton indignities from the other wives of my husband. Favorites of fickle fortune, a king's fancy or whim has raised them to where they stand now, co-wives with me and rivals for my husband's love. They have poisoned my lord's heart and shut me out from the light of his affection. Their birth, their status, and their talents are all inferior to me. And they wouldn't dare have the courage to speak such words to me, were it not for the cruel blow dealt by fortune to my honor and happiness. Verse 40. Atah dukkataram kimnu pramadanam bhavishyati Tvayi samnihite api evam aham asam nirakrita. Women do not survive such shocks. Before me stretches a whole eternity of grief and tears, unparalleled, unutterable. Verse 41. Tvayi sannihite apye evam aham asam nirakrita kim punaha proshite tata dhruvam maranam ivame. Behold, they well me quiet and you are by my side, the flower of valor, my firstborn, and the next in the order of succession to the throne of the earth. Just imagine what it would be like when you are away. Death, natural or violent, would be a merciful boon. Verse 42. Atyanta nigrihitasmi bhartur nityam atantrita parivarena kaikeya sama vapyathava vara. Every day finds my husband colder to me, destined by birth and by fortune to lord it over the earth and its countless millions. Here am I placed by sufferance in the same level as the waiting women of Kaikeyi. Nay, not so, for they at least come in for a share of her favor. Verse 43. Yohi mam sevate kaschit athava api anuvartate Kaikeyaha putram anvikshya sa janona abhibhashate. If there were chanced to be any well-meaning soul who was devoted to me and spoke to me words of hope and cheer, he will avoid me like pestilence, lest Kaikeyi's son might punish him cruelly for it. Verse 44. Nitya krodhataya tasyaha katham nu kharavaditat Kaikeya vadanam drashtum putra shakshyami durgata. Kaikeyi has never had a kind word or look upon me. Cruel taunts and cutting sarcasms were ever known to fall from her lips where I was concerned. And now this last and cruelest stroke of misfortune delivers me over to her, body and soul. Have I the heart to brave her frowns? Verse 45. Dasha saptacha varshani tava jatasya raghava asitani prakankshantya maya dukkha parikshayam. O Rama, I have been waiting for 17 years since your second birth of thread ceremony with the hopes that my troubles will disappear at one time or the other. My Rama will grow to be a youth and he will take his place on the throne of his father, and then my sorrow sets forever. Verse 46. Tad akshayam mahadukkam notsahe swahitam chiram viprakaram sapatninam evam jirnapi raghava. But alas, my hopes are nipped in the bud. The jibes and the jeers of my rivals would pierce my wounded heart. And how long can this poor wasted frame bear those refined torments? And it is a night that knows no morning. We shall continue with this analysis in the next section as well. Jai Sitaram.